Hi, good evening. This is Kelly McKenney Golden, and this is my introductory video for ADL 851 Supervision and Evaluation. Um, so a little bit about myself before I get started. I am a licensed mental health counselor working for Newport Public Schools in Newport, Rhode Island. I am the only licensed mental health counselor to work for a public school in Rhode Island. It is actually a position that was specifically created to help with social emotional support, clinical support, and testing in the Newport School District. Um, they had some difficulty finding school psychologists in recent years, and so wanted somebody who could do some of the psychological evaluations, but then could also do more clinical support as well. Here in the photos, we have my husband, Patrick, and one of our dogs, little Poe. And then also our 2.5-year-old son, Gavin. Gavin actually will be 3 come June. And one of our pictures there is one of our old Western time photos from our recent vacation to San Antonio. Just a little more background on me. I was a classroom regular ed teacher for 10 years. Before I went back, I had gone back to school while teaching for my second master's in counseling and also my CAGS in mental health. And then once I had to do my clinical hours to be licensed by the Board of Health, I left teaching. And then I did some outreach work, home-based clinical work in homes with children and families, served as a clinical supervisor, and then actually got back into working in schools, was a building administrator for a couple of years in Massachusetts, and then have come to my more recent position in Rhode Island. So my inspiration for kind of doing this program and wanting to be a building leader, I've been a building leader in the past. I was a building administrator in an urban district in Massachusetts. And I also served as social emotional learning support along with having those administrative duties. In Rhode Island, they would not accept my certification from Massachusetts. So I'm kind of going back to the drawing board, doing my coursework in building leadership, and then I'll apply for a building admin certificate through the Department of Ed in Rhode Island. My inspiration for that is the hope that at some point there'll be a district level social emotional learning coordinator. I know there are those positions kind of throughout the country, and so I'm hoping that one will be created closer to me and that I'll be able to serve in that capacity. For my leadership experience with evaluation, I was a clinical supervisor at a mental health agency. They had sites throughout Massachusetts and Connecticut. Originally, I worked there as an outreach community-based clinician, and I was promoted to clinical supervisor. At one time, I had 25 people under my supervision, both master's level and bachelor's level. The master's level were clinicians, and the bachelor's level were both therapeutic mentors and therapeutic support staff. So in that supervisory position for evaluations, we had written evaluations that we had to do depending on their date of hire. So it could have been, their first 90 days and then subsequent evaluations after. And I certainly had a lot of job coaching roles in that position as well. For my own personal before I get to my personal experience, I want to just backtrack a little bit. My building leadership experience in Massachusetts, it was not evaluatory. I was a building administrator, but I didn't have any evaluation experience. So I've never had that experience as a building leader in a school. But I do believe that my experience as a clinical supervisor would certainly translate over. And my position now, I certainly do a lot of job coaching of regular ed teachers, and even special ed teachers in the classroom, working with children and families. For my personal observations and evaluations, my own personal experience, I honestly have found that a lot of the observations and evaluations that I've been through when I was a classroom teacher and even now are very procedural. Seems like a lot of box checking. It's not really very personalized. The evaluation system that we use in Newport Public Schools right now is linked to the Rhode Island Department of Ed, and it's synced up with our certification. I do still find it to be very procedural. We do develop our own goals that we can work on that are approved by our building leadership. And, it's certainly helpful for goal setting. But again, I still think it does lack a little bit of that personalization. I think a lot of times, especially with a role like mine, it's difficult to evaluate the work that I do. Clinical support work, counseling work is kind of difficult to evaluate. So certainly a principal can come and watch a group, or they can, attend an evaluation team meeting and hear me read out a test, but it doesn't really fully encompass what I do on a day-to-day basis in support of children and families. So there's definitely, I think, that personalization piece that's missing. And I certainly found that when I was teaching as well. Although the evaluation system certainly has changed quite a bit since I was a teacher. Again, I was a teacher for 10 years. I left teaching back in 2011. So I've been out of the classroom for a while in that capacity. And I certainly know the evaluation system has changed, and I believe it's improved, but there's still a little bit more improvement that can be made. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm excited about taking the supervision and evaluation class, and I'm excited to watch some other introductory videos. Thanks so much, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.